Well, hey there, Errol. Of course, he has many opinions about New York, a city he cares about quite a bit, and he's emerged as a major critic of Mamdani. You referenced some of those social media posts that he's put out, not only saying don't vote for him, but taking the step to say don't vote for the Republican, vote for the independent, Andrew Cuomo, as an effort to make it so that Mamdani does not win. Before we say anything else, why don't we just take a listen to some of the things he's been saying from the Oval Office in recent weeks. Take a listen.
I'm not a fan of Cuomo one way or the other, but if it's going to be between a bad Democrat and a communist, I'm going to pick the bad Democrat all the time. But I wouldn't be generous to a communist, a guy that's going to take the money and throw it out the window, because you're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars. We have tremendous power at the White House to run places when we have to. Cuomo might have a chance of winning if it was a one-on-one. If it's not one-on-one, it's going to be a hard race. But we're going to end up with a communist mayor. It's not even believable, my beautiful New York.
And in the recent days before the election, you referenced some of those social media posts. I'll read you just a little bit of one of the lengthy posts on Monday where he was talking about Cuomo and that endorsement, saying, I would much rather see a Democrat who has had a record of success win than a communist with no experience and a record of complete and total failure. That was President Trump on Monday. And then on Tuesday, escalated it yet again, writing on social media, any Jewish person that votes for Zohran Mamdani, a proven and self-professed Jew hater, is a stupid person. And then lastly, Errol, of course, getting a lot of attention are those threats to withhold federal funding if Mamdani does win. The question is whether the courts will actually allow that.
Yeah, well, that's a nice way of saying that what the president is proposing is illegal. To simply withhold money from the state, government money that's otherwise owed, based on the political outcome that the president personally did not like. As you say, that may end up in court. Let me ask you about some of the other politics here. The Senate Minority Leader, Chuck Schumer, who represents New York State, ended up, you know, we're closing in on the end of the election, and he never endorsed in this race. Is he worried about fallout for the National Democratic Party if Mamdani should win?
Right. If you're waiting for that endorsement, time is running out because we still have not gotten it. You know, there's been a really muted response from a lot of Democrats. Of course, Mamdani does have his supporters. You know, you could reference people like Senator Bernie Sanders, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. They have supported Mamdani, and yet you were referencing Schumer. He's just one of many. You know, he was asked earlier today on Capitol Hill directly who he voted for. Was it Cuomo or was it Mamdani? And his response was, look, I voted, and I look forward to working with the next mayor to help New York City. So didn't really say publicly who he went for. You know, similarly, Hakeem Jeffries did eventually endorse Mamdani, but he took quite a while to do so, and he was asked whether he saw Mamdani as the face, or rather, I should say, the future of the Democratic Party, and his response was no, saying that it's the House caucus overall that's the future, saying it's not just people like Mamdani. It really is this interesting dichotomy that we're seeing play out here, where there are some people that will say, if Mamdani wins, look, that's the future of the Democratic Party. And yet you could also look at what just happened in Virginia, for example, Abigail Spanberger, a moderate one. So, yeah, a lot of questions about what the future of the Democratic Party is. I don't think that's going to be solved even if Mamdani wins.
Yeah, don't skip over that. We've been buried in New York City political news. Well, tell us what happened in Virginia.
Yes, so this is a big story right now as, you know, we're always looking for clues in these off-year elections about how voters are feeling. And so there's a lot of attention to these two big governor's races, one in Virginia and then the other one in New Jersey. No result just yet in New Jersey, but Virginia, what we had here was Abigail Spanberger, I just mentioned, a moderate Democrat. She won back in 2018 to represent Virginia on Capitol Hill. And she was successful in beating out the Republican in Virginia, Winsome Earl Sears, who's the current lieutenant governor in Virginia. It's a Republican that currently is in control in Richmond, Glenn Youngkin, and now it's been a reversal. So like I was saying, there are going to be some people that point to this and say, look, that's the future of the Democratic Party, although we should note Virginia has this long history, Errol, of going the opposite direction as the White House. You know, we'll have one result in the White House, and then 1 year later, Virginia votes. And so it's been pretty common that they go the other way. That's what we saw here, where, of course, we've got the Republican in the White House, and now we've got a Democrat in Richmond.
Okay, now going back to Washington, where you are, in addition to President Trump, there are Republicans there in Washington and all around the country who have been weighing in on the race for mayor in New York, and in particular Zohran Mamdani. What are they saying?
Yeah, they've been very critical of Mamdani. And, you know, we've been on Capitol Hill covering this shutdown, and it seems that almost every day these Republican leaders are bringing up Mamdani. They want the attention to be on him. You know, the framing they have of this shutdown is that it's continuing because mainstream Democrats are scared of the far left, including people like Mamdani. That's the framing that we hear day after day from people like House Speaker Mike Johnson. And Errol, I think that this is going to continue. Just a week ago, we saw a memo come out from the NRCC, which is the campaign arm, and really they're saying that they're going to focus on Mamdani. I want to read this for you here, saying House Republicans will make Zohran Mamdani famous in battleground races next November, running against his unpopular agenda, which is the new face of the Democratic Party. So clearly, what we're seeing here is they think that Mamdani is a liability when it comes to battleground states. Political analyst was telling me, Errol, the other day that what works in Manhattan, New York, won't necessarily work in Manhattan, Kansas. Time will tell.
Okay, we shall see. Thanks very much, Evan.